Hello and welcome back to Danger Aware Animation Department. My name is Ray Howell. I am the Chief Information Officer for Danger Aware. And over the last 4 years I have been learning to do animation using Moho. And so I decided to share my learning with everyone. So when we were here last, we worked on the tree number 2 to make it a variable tree so that we can produce many numbers of trees of this type from this particular model or puppet. So this is tree 2, and today I'm going to do tree 3. So to start off, we're going to open up tree 3. So background tree 3 right here. And what I want to do is use as much of this pre-rigging as I've already got done so that I don't have to redo all that work. So if you've been with me before, you understand that each of these are digital DNA that makes alterations to the tree that we then set at the beginning of our animation, and then that model is held throughout the animation. So this tree is variable. If we go into animate it, you can see we've got all these colors, and we can change things here by moving things around and creating a completely different tree. And we can get rid of the foliage so that we're looking at just the tree and the with all the leaves gone, or we can alter the color of the leaves so that it's a particular time of year. This all gives us what we need for our making 437 septillion possible trees that we can produce without counting the colors. So we're going to do the same thing with tree 3, but I want to use as much as the work I've done on tree 2 and not have to redo it. For instance, as I change the digital DNA, the identity changes. If we go into the animation frame, and then as we change this, you can see that the identity for this particular lever is changing. And by keeping track of all of these values, we can reproduce the same exact tree again if we need to. We're just going to take background tree here, and we're going to copy that layer. And then we're going to go into our background tree 2 DNA, and we're going to paste that layer right above where we're at. So we want to paste the entire layer, so that gives us tree 3 here. Alright, so all of the parts for tree 3. And as you can see, it matches what I built on tree 2 here, although tree 2 has the fruit where the other tree doesn't. So I'm not going to delete the fruit here, but I am going to delete all these other parts because they're not tree 3. So we're just going to delete those out. So then we're going to take the parts from tree 3 and drop them down into tree 2 below the fruit. So now we've replaced, actually it didn't go in, there we go. You got to make sure you're lining up, otherwise you're below that object. So now we've created our new tree, and so we need to delete this tree 3 and then rename 2 to 3. And now we need to save as, and we're going to make it tree 3 DNA. And then this is version 1 of this tree. Hopefully only version. Generally, if I make a major difference, I change the value. So, as you can see, we've got 2 arms to this tree, and it's not lined up. So that's the first thing we need to do, is get everything lined up. So now we're going to go into the construction layer, and we're going to bind each of these parts. Now we need to move the tree into line with the bones that are already there. So I'm picking up everything. I just want the tree parts. So we select everything but the fruit. The fruit is already in the right place. So we're going to pick up everything using Shift and select everything down to trunk. That gives us control to pick up the layer. And we're going to move the layer on over to cover those bones. And let's just go right about like that. And so now we've got the layout of the tree in the right place. So you can see the fruit is not quite lining up, so we will need to move the fruit. So let's grab the layers, and we're going to grab the fruit layer, and we're just going to move it over and up. We're just going to grab this one and hit T, and then pick it up and move it over here. I'm going to go G to grab this one here, hit T, pick it up, move it over. Oops, I've picked up some of that other one. And let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing and undo what we did. Then G to grab just the one fruit, hit T. Now we can move that over here. So let's see. Don't need to move all of them, but there should be some definite pattern differences from the prior tree, because when you place them together, you don't want to look like, oh, that's the same thing, whatever. So there we go. We've got our fruit laid out in our base positions differently than the tree too. So now we're going to go to foliage front, and we need to bind that to the bone for the foliage here. If you were here last time, the foliage is laid out here at the bottom of the tree, bone structure. So if I go B for bone, we've got this one. This is the back foliage. This is the mid foliage. Then this is the front foliage. So we're going to go with front foliage here. We're going to select that bone after we select bind layer. So now we select that bone, and now front foliage will change based on this bone's movement. Then we're going to go to branches 1, and that's going to be this bone. Then we got mid foliage. That's the center bone sticking up here. Then we've got branches 2, and that's going to be this bone. And then we've got foliage back, and that's going to be this bone. So now we've got those all set up. The trunk is a little different. We're going to do many bones on one object. So we're going to select the bind by points, and we're going to select B for bone and grab this bottom bone. Then I on the keyboard will let us select whatever points that we want to be bound to that particular bone. Then we go up here and we click bind points. So now those points will move when that bone moves. Then we're going to select the next bone, then I, and we're going to drag anything above those bones we selected before. And we're just going to go to the top of the bone and then bind those to that bone. B for bone, grab the next bone. I for the keyboard. Now we grab the next points. And I missed one and grabbed the green one that's already selected, but that's alright. It will simply rebind to the new bone. So then we go to B for bone, next one, then I, then drag, and we want to stop at the top of the bone, then bind those points, and B for bone, then I, and grab those points. right to there. And then B for bone, we've got the top eye to grab, and then we bind those final 4 points to the top bone there. So now our tree is fully bound to our control bones. So if we go into animation layer 1 and we begin to manipulate, well, we gotta go to the bone layer here, and then we manipulate the bones here, we're manipulating our tree. So we can make it sway in the wind, or something's climbing up in the bushes, or whatever the case may be. So there we go. So that's a bit of a heavy swing there. Maybe I should reverse which one is which. Yeah, let's do that. So branches 1, we're going to change its binding. Let's see, you've got to be in the construction layer. So you're going to bind to this bone, and then the branches 2 will bind to that bone. I think that'll work better. So let's go back in and manipulate. Gotta be in the bone layer. Manipulate bone tool, and now there we go. That is better. So there we go. Yeah. So that gives us our control over the tree, and we can move the branches or the limbs of the trunk just like that. And of course the bottom doesn't move, just like our prior. Now, because I kept the fruit, all my fruit coloring, size, and bloom, going from blooms to fruit, that all still works. The remove foliage does not work because it's new foliage. It's not the same foliage as before. The same on all of this. Now, the thing we need to work on next is front foliage DNA. And what we do with this one is, when this one changes, the foliage for the front foliage will rearrange. And on my first tree, I did a lot of resizing. The second tree, I just moved things around, and that seemed to work just as well and was much quicker. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to go into actions, and we're going to go to the foliage front DNA, which, because we have the bone selected, it is selected for us already here. We're on the main line, but it's showing us which bone we have selected. So we can double click here and go into the digital DNA for this bone. I'm calling it a lever at this point. So you can see that the levering is still happening. The numbers are changing for the identity. So each of the 141 positions has a different value here, and we're going to change so that at 71 we're looking exactly like it looks now, but at the left and the right of that we're going to have extreme changes. So we're going to start at 1, and we're going to go to front foliage. So here is the objects that make up the front foliage. So all I'm going to do is just start randomly grabbing and moving these around, preferably to the opposite side of the tree from where they're at, so that we've got a lot of changes. But if we did that all the way across, the center would just be another center. So I'm going to move this center over here and move this one over here, and just keep doing random changes until I'm pretty sure I've moved nearly every one of these to a different location. So it doesn't really matter where it is, just that it's been moved. So let's do this. Okay, I thought maybe I just put the same one back, but No, it is, whoops, it is a different one. You got to keep from grabbing that center control part for each object that you grab. If you grab the center control center point, it will move instead of the object moving. So let's see, let's move that over there for the moment. Move this one up here, and we'll move this one down here. Put this one over here, and put this one over here. Now we'll put this one back into the tree, and then we can check and see which ones are, oh, well, they're not going to move back until we've reset. So we go back to 71, which is our midpoint between 1 and 141, and then we're going to grab all of those objects in the layer and reset them back to where they were at the beginning. So now when we move on the timeline, we can see which objects are not moving at all and go, okay, we need to move the top 3 there. Looks like maybe 4 objects there at the top. So let's move over like this. So we've got to move this object over here. Got to move this object. Move down there. Got to move one of these. Let's move this one over here. I'm going to move this one down there. Now we'll look and see which ones are not moving. Okay, so this one's not moving, which means it's still in its original place. So we're going to move that one up here. I don't believe this one was moving. Let's see. Yeah, that one's not moving. So now you see I stopped on 5 when I made that last change. So let's go ahead and move those on over to 1. That's easy to do. Now this one can be moved up here. This one can move over here. And then we just take a look. What's not moving? Grab by eye which one you want to move next. You may have to zoom in to get the one you're after. But once you've got it, just move it to a new location. And look for your next one. It's not moving. This one's not moving. Put it right there. Alright. Looks like we've got almost all of them. So this one's not moving. Move it up here. Now, let's see. Okay, so because I went from side to side, they're kind of globbing up in the center here. We really don't want that. And the beauty of Moho is it takes care of things for you. So if we simply grab this one and say, oh, right now I want that one there. And right now I want this one here. And let's put this one out there. And this way we can keep it from globbing up in the center. And it gives us a lot more variance from one layout to the next. So now we can go to 1. So we're not conglomerating all into the center any longer. And now here's our reset point. So somewhat right here at 48, let's spread things out a little bit different. Let's grab this one and move it way over there. Let's grab this one and move it way down here. Alright, so now all kinds of different configurations happening. So now we go to 141 and we just do the same thing here. We just rearrange everything somehow other than what it is now. So let's, I'm going to first, you know what, let's use the magnet on it here. So instead of just moving them around, let's reshape some of them. So now we're getting the best of both types of change. Alright, and let's go ahead and move some of them. So I'll move this one here. Move that one there. Here. And since I reshaped them, I don't really need to move every one of them if I'm getting bored and tired of making these particular changes. But the more you make the changes, the better your end result's going to be. So it's best to go ahead and do what you can to make the best of it. So let's take a look. So yeah, even though they're not all moving positions, they're all changing. So let's go ahead and move some more positions here. All right, so I think that's enough to give us enough different effects. So let's go ahead and go to 1 and use the magnet tool here as well. And we'll just reshape some of these. They don't need to be changed a lot, but the more we change it, the better our end result. In most cases. Alright, so there is our far end left. Work our way to the reset point. And because I reshaped things, I need to reset it again, just to be sure. And to this one. So there we go. We've got a lot of different layouts there. Let's go ahead and grab all of this and reset. So now we can go back to the main line and we can go into the animation frame and we can go to the bone layer and we can test our DNA. So there we go, the tree is changing to a different tree just with that one change. 141 different trees right there. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing on mid foliage. And as you can see, it's a bunch of different shapes, and I'm not even sure it's the same number of shapes, which really doesn't matter. Again, this is a background tree. We're not trying to do fine detail. So at 71, we're going to want to reset everything. So let's just do that first. Grab all of it and reset. That way, we're already going back to this as we move along the timeline. So at 1, we're just going to start picking up objects and moving around. See, I grabbed the center there instead of the edge. Right there is what I wanted. I'm trying to not move things exactly straight across so we don't have a pile up in the middle. But we may still end up with something like that. Let's see here. So now we can move along our timeline, looking for the ones that aren't moving yet. We're now at 2,803,221 different possible configurations for just the foliage. So now we're going to go to the branches, 1 DNA. Now we're going to go to bone layer, and then branches 1 DNA. So, branches 1 is branches 1 here. Just like the foliage, it's 71. That's the center. We want to grab everything and simply reset so that it will return to this. So now we go to 1. And with this, it's just a magnet. You just grab the magnet and rearrange your limbs. And then you're going to get some weird distortion with doing that. So you simply go in the final step and just clean it up. Because you don't want it looking like a deformed tree, but maybe. You can also make some minor changes to like the tips of the limbs and stuff like that so that you're, you know, getting a whole different effect and look. You bring some up and get them larger, where others you're making them smaller. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the construction layer and go to the trunk. And as you can see here, we've got just these points here on the top. But I think we want it to be branching out. I'm going to add some points. Whoops. And that'll let us turn that into branching. And then let's do the same thing here. So this should branch up like that. There we go. And then on the curve, just kind of bring these 2 points. So there will be our branching out at the top of the tree. Bring that right there. So now I need to go back to the trunk and the binding of the points and grab the bone for the top of the tree and then and now I can grab all these points right there and bind those, and those are now on that top bone. So they move like that. So when we go to change them, we can change them longer or shorter as we need them. Alright, so now we go to the DNA for that. There we go. So now we want top trunk DNA. So when it's all the way to the left, we're going to make it as small as possible. So we're just going to grab, let's see, we're going to shrink them down, but then we got to correct and bring the ones on this side back over. It's hard because I had them overlapping, but we can grab points one at a time, then hit T, and now we can swing this back over where it was. And this one pretty much stayed where it needed to be, but I'm going to grab these, hit T, and bring it onto the right just a bit anyway, because we need to still be in the center of the branches connecting. Alright, so right there, then at 141, we'll just expand them, and not too much. And there we go. So we've got our branching out at the top, and we go back to 71, and we just want to grab all of that and reset. So now we've got big expanding branch and small and even withering branch. Okay, so there's our top trunk DNA. Back to the tree, back to the main line. Our next is going to be mid-trunk DNA. So we're going to go into that. We're at 1. We're going to grab these trunk and we're going to make him mimic. So I'm going to grab and I'm going to go to the lasso so that I have control over going between and grabbing just the ones I want. So there we go. And I'm going to hit T, and then holding Alt, I'm going to squeeze that trunk together. Then I'm going to jump to 141 since I've got it selected like that, and then I'm going to make it wide. Now the weird coloring there is because I've got spatulae added to the coloring, but that's all going to change anyway, so it doesn't matter. So let's go and bring that up a bit. And now we're going to do the other side. So we go G to grab, and now I grab all those points that I didn't have before. Go, hit T, and we're at 141, so I'm going to hold Alt and spread the trunk wider, and I think I'll move it over just a bit too. There we go. And then we jump to 1, and we're just going to squeeze it together. And then we're going to go to 71. And we're going to grab everything. And you can grab more than you need, so if you're resetting things that belong to a different action, it doesn't matter. As long as we're resetting, we're fine. We need to reset at 71, and now our tree trunk grows and squeezes down to practically nothing. So we've got some different trees. You know what? Let's make another change here. When it's thick like that, well, nah, we'll leave it alone. Yeah, we'll just leave it. I was thinking of moving the crouch here up and down, but no, we're going to leave that alone. So now we're going to go back to the main line. Go back to the beginning of the tree. Grab the root. Is right here. Click that. So I've got some points here at the root of the trunk that we can use to make roots from. And on the small end, we're going to bring up bring some of these points up and inward. Like that. And then at 141, we're going to do the opposite and send them out for making roots. And we're going to grab the curve and adjust the curve so that we can make these roots look more like roots. So there we go with that one. Let's shrink these down and get it sharp there. Alright, so alright, so there's our big roots, and there's our small roots, and it's 71. We want to grab all of it and reset. So now we've got our roots. And now we go back to tree, one click, double click on mainline, and we can go to trunk up and down. That already works. Trunk left and right does not work properly, so we're going to go to the trunk left and right, and we just want to make sure that we're maintaining our tree shape on the trunk properly when we do this. So you can see how that's overlapping. We want to grab T, and we just drag this out a bit and drag this in a bit. Drag this like this. And the same over here. We've got the trunk of the tree outside of the shading there. Oh, that is the shading I'm moving. Okay, so let's see. Put that there. That there. And okay, that one needs curve on it is the problem. There we go. So now that's not bad for the distortion to the left. So now we go to the right at 141. And we just need to make sure we do the same thing here. Just clean things up. So like that needs a curve. That needs a curve. That needs a curve. That needs a little more curve. Now we can put them in the right places. Trunk a little more trunk, and we can do all of this as long as we go to 71 and reset everything back to standard. So there we go. Let's bring that there. So there's our tree curved this direction. Let's see. I think that needs to move. That's the shade. We'll bring that tree out like that. That's there. That's what is looking funky. There we go. So now we've got our wiggly tree that direction. Wiggly tree that direction. And it's 71. Grab everything. Go ahead and go back to the grab by box, have all of that, and reset. And because we made changes to the curves, we need to reset the curves. And there we go. So now we've got our trunk DNA, left and right. So we're going to distort the tree that way. Now we're going to do the distort trunk DNA, and you can see that's doing some weird stuff there. So again, we just need to clean this all up to make the tree still look like a tree at this point by bringing the object points into alignment to where they should be. So let's see here. There's our distortion, and the tree remains tree all the way through, and the same this way, it's remaining a tree. Alright, so now we can go into the trunk color. Now before we do colors, we have to remove the custom colors that I created as styles when I created the tree. Now we're going to keep the A, B, C, D through K. That is our identity colors here for the identity numbers at the top. so that the bone color matches the identity color, so it's easy to determine, oh, well, that's this one here. So trunk 1 style has to be deleted. And as we do this, our tree is going to return to black and white, to the original function of the stroke and the fill. So we delete these, and you can see the tree changing as I do so. There, so now I've removed all the colors that had been applied to the parts of the tree. We're going to go into trunk color DNA and go into that action. Now, we need to be on the trunk. Now, position 1, because we create coloring pages out of these as well as animations, we want to be able to have it go to simply black and white. So at this first position, we want the trunk color to be black and white. And so we simply select the object that is the trunk. And let's see, that's shadow, that's shadow. But this is tree, and this is tree. So all of that, we're going to make one object, but we want to make the fill white and the stroke black. If you don't set these at this point, the moment you start changing the colors in position 1 on the timeline, it all drifts, so you would no longer have true black and white. So we're going to go now to 1, and this is going to be our lightest colors for the tree. So our fill is going to be the very lightest brown. Let's see. How about that? And then for the stroke, we're just going to go 2 colors darker. So now we go to 141. And at 141, we're going to want the darkest colors. And so we're going to go with black for the stroke, or gray actually, and the darkest brown here. So now as we travel along the timeline, the colors will get lighter and lighter and lighter until at 1 we jump to black and white. So there's our color changes happening on the trunk. So what we want to do now is do the same thing for the branches, because the branches are an extension of the trunk. So we're going to go into the color we've got here at 141, and we're going to capture this color ID by Control C. That simply copies it because it's already highlighted for us. And so now we're going to go to branches, and we're going to select the branches object. Let's turn off the foliage so we can see our branches. And so we're on, let's turn off branches 1, 2, so we know exactly what we're working with. So there's branches 2, and we want the dark color to be Control V to paste that color. Then we go to branches 1, and we do the same thing on the stroke. Oh, we got to select the object. You got to select the actual branches that you're affecting. Then we're going to Control V to paste. Now we're going to go back to trunk, and we're going to go into the fill color, and we're going to copy that. And then we're going to go to branches, and we're going to go into the fill, and we're going to paste that. And then you're going to go to the other branches and go into fill, and we can paste that. Now say we wanted the front branches to be just a bit lighter, so we can do that. We can just pull this up like that. Also, we want all of these to have splotchiness on that effect. So we have to apply it to each one individually. And on this, I like to make the scale into the 20s to 40s. So let's go 25, and then OK. And then we're going to go back to branches 2, selecting those, giving them a splotchy, but we're going to give it a different splotchy. Let's go 35. Alright, and then to the trunk, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab that, make it splotchy, and let's go 42. I'm just using random numbers. So as you can see, our branches no longer look like they're browns, but if we render the image, then you can see they are mottled browns, and it gives us a texture to those branches, almost like a paintbrush having swirled liquid paint and it dried slightly irregularly. So that gives us our branches color changes to the dark end. Now we got to do all of that at number 2 for the light end. So we go to the trunk. Now the splotchiness carries through, so all we need to do is get the colors. So we're going to grab this color, copy, Control C. Then we're going to go to branches, select that, and Control V. The other branches, and Control V. Now we're going to go back to the trunk. We're going to get the dark color and copy that. Yes, I know I got it from here and I could just select here, but I wanted to teach you that no matter what color you set it, you can go in and adjust and fix it. So we're going to go here and Control V, and then back to here and again Control V. So now we go to our tree and we go to the timeline. At 1, it should all be black and white, but splotchy. So let's see what that renders as. We're still getting colors there. Apparently I didn't set black and white on the branches. So let's go in and do that. But you can see there's a little bit of splotchiness to the black and white as well. So back to, we're on 1 on the timeline, so we go back to the branches and see here it's not black and white. So we're just going to take it to zeros and F's. So all F's is all white, all zeros is all black. So that was what I meant by, if you don't set black and white before you start setting colors, then that first position will drift to be that a color between black and white and that first color you've selected. So there we go. Now they should all be proper at 0 to be just black and white, but modeled, you know, with little texture in them, so that when we make the coloring pages, the kids will have some texture to color over, but they'll still have texture in their final product. Alright, so that's the trunk color out of the way. So we're going to turn the trunk and the branches off, and we're going to go to the main line. Then we're going to go to front foliage color, so B for bone, and we grab front foliage, so we're going to turn on only front foliage. Foliage, front foliage color, that's what we want. So we're going to go into that. So at 1, we go to the styles, and we're going to set black and white as the default for position 1. And then at position 2, we're going to go into the lightest greens. So let's pick that. No, I don't like that one. There, that one's a little better. And then for the trim on that, I'm going to select that same color, but then I'm going to go in and just go about 10% down and to the right. And that gives me a light stroke edge. And we need to make sure that we give this an effect. So we're going to give it, let's see. Yeah, we'll go splotchy. But let's leave it at 288 and see what happens. And then finally we want the color to be transparent to some degree. So let's go to 80% opaque, and the same with the stroke. And that's so that we can see the limbs and other leaves through these leaves. So we want to be at 80% or close to it. So now we've got our splotchy light green. We're going to go to 141. And we wanted to make it our dark green. Okay, and again we're going to pick up that color and then change the edge just to be about 10% darker down and to the right. So there we've got our standard color change on the foliage for the front. And at 71 it should be the standard green that we would want our main tree to be. But because we're not using this for our main tree, we're using it for all the other background trees, we're just going to leave it. Now, with the other tree before, we had to add the fall colors. So let's slide the dark green down to 108. And then at 109, we're going to jump into the, let's go to right there. And again, the edge is just going to be 10% darker. Like that. By 10%, I'm talking about 10% of this distance and about 10% of that distance. So I go down at an angle. And it doesn't have to be exact, just approximate. And that gives us a different colored edge. So then we go all the way to 141, and that's where we're going to have our dark red colors. And again, we're just going to make the edge about 10% darker. There we go. So now we've got our foliage turning red, orange, then into the greens. And now we're just going to pick up that layout of colors and copy it. And then we're just going to paste it for foliage mid and foliage back, and then fine tune it. So we go back to the tree, we go back to the actions, go back to the main line, go to mid foliage. We could have just gone to mid foliage directly. So now we can select foliage mid, then we're going to paste. And so now you can see we've pasted the colors just like we had on the first layer. The problem is when we get to 71, we will have the same color on both layers, and there will be no way to tell the difference. So we need to alter the colors that we're using. We can do that by jumping here and selecting the color, going to the styles. Now we can select the color here, and we can just drop it down, like, let's go 15% straight down. Okay, and then the same here, we're going to drop down 15%. Now I know on the other one I changed where the points were. I'm just letting you know there's multiple ways of doing this. So now we've changed that base color. Let's go to the dark green and change it as well. So we're going to go in here and let's go straight over. Doesn't have to be a different in the same way as the other ones. It can be different in a different way. So about 15%. And so there we go. The same with the colors for the oranges and the the fall colors. Let's lighten this up to there. And then on the darkest color, let's make it more of a orangish red, kind of towards the browns. It was kind of in the purples. So we'll do that and then pick that up and then 10% darker. So now we've got our second set of leaves colored, and they will not be the same color as the first set when at rest. So now we need to go back to actions, and then we're going to go back foliage color. So let's go back to the main line so we can find it. And then there's back foliage color here. We turn off the mid foliage, turn on the back foliage, and select, no, we got to be in the back foliage, and then we can select each of those objects. Alright, and now we Control V to paste the colors that we had copied from the first one. And again, we're going to go into one. We're going to go into the styles, and we're going to grab this color. And last time we went down, let's go across. So we're going to go across to there. Then we'll pick up that color from here and then change it by 15%. Alright, and then we go to the dark greens, and again we change the color. Now we can't go to the right because we're already all the way to the right, but we can change this. So let's bring this down, and that gives us a different level of green. So there we go. Okay. And then we pick this color up here, and then we drop down for 45 degrees, about 10%. And there we go. So now our three foliages are changing color, and they're doing so at their own pattern of coloring. So let's go back to the main line, and the bone layer and animation frame 1, and now we can test each of our different colors. Let's turn on our foliages. So there we got our different colors of greens and how they overlap with each other, and we can change those colors. Well, that, yeah. It seems like my internal is not changing, but you got to remember we are on, we've got textures applied to the colors, so to see the real look, you have to render. So there we've got our tree with our tiny little fruits on it. So in the fall. So let's go ahead and test the greens at rest. So we're going to remove animation from the document. So that should set these all to their base green. And now let's render that to see what that really looks like. Oh yeah, so That's looking like a good background tree, I think. So now we can change the look and the color of the tree. And at rest, we've got 3 different colors of green, and we can change any of those, or any one of them, or any multiples of those. So we can do that, and we can do that, and now render. So we've got a tree that's just starting to turn in the fall. And we can get rid of the fruit simply by dragging the fruit bar. No pun intended there. So over here on the fruit, we can drag that to be either blossoms, well, that's color there. That's the fruit color. But we can have it be either none at 0, blossoms, getting bigger, and at a certain point they change back to just the stamen. You can see a tiny little fruit there. And so now as we move it further, they become rounded fruits. And it can, of course, we can make them any color we need them to be. So the tree can be whatever kind of tree we need it to be. So now we can turn on the branches and the trunk. And render. So you can still see branches behind leaves and through leaves. So we've got the full effect of a true tree in our program. And with the splotchiness on the trunk, it's really looking really good. So there is our final tree rendering. And there's one more bone that we need to deal with, and that is to remove the foliage from the tree, because these are all new foliages. They are not affected from the original. So we got to go back into the construction layer. And let's turn off everything except one layer of foliage. So there we go. We've got nothing but foliage. And now we're going to go foliage size. At 1, we want foliage to be 0. So what we're going to do is grab each object in the foliage here, one at a time, because if we try to do them all at once, they shrink to the center. We want them to shrink where they're at. So we're going to go up here to their scale and just go 1 and 1. That makes it quick and easy to reduce it. Now at 71, we want them to all be reset. And you can see it still shows 100%, but we can still hit reset and it will reset it back to the original shape. So back here, we're going to make them all tiny. So just on the scale, 1 and 1. Grab the next one, scale 1 and 1. We've got them all at 1% of what their normal size is. So now as we move along the timeline, they will all grow till 71. So let's grab all of them and reset. And then we're going to go to 141. I don't think I can change the scale and they stay where they're at, but let's try it. So let's go 200%. By 200%. That's too much. And yeah, see, it spreads them out. It doesn't just grow them in their location. We don't want them spread out like that. So let's Control Z and undo what I just did. And now we need to go into each one of them one at a time. And I think 200% might be too much, but let's check it out. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. So now we're going to go to each one. And 200. Instead of having to type it out, I'm going to Control Copy so I can just paste it. So now I can paste 200% on each object at the scale of X and Y. And you know, at some point in the video, I've got to talk about Danger Aware and what we're doing. We're creating all these cartoons, coloring pages, comics, and so on to educate the young and vulnerable about the early stages of abuse and how to call it out so that it can't escalate into true abuse. So we're using cartoons and comics and ebooks and videos to teach that to kids. So if you are an artist or an animator and you would like to help us and you'd like to come up with a new cartoon or comic or whatever, please help us. If you know how to do animation and you want to put together your own little animation, as long as it has something to do about abuse awareness, we will post it on our website. So if you want to help us teach children, hey, if somebody's doing this and this, chances are they're likely to make it into something worse. And that's what we're trying to teach. We don't want to show any actual abuse. We just want to show how almost all abuses start off small and end up being huge. So now we're going to go to 141 and we're going to go to each one of those and make it 200%. So Control V is still 200. Oh wait, can't do that yet because we got to reset to factory or to the base at position 71. So we're going to grab them all and reset them. So now we go to 141. And as we grab each one, we can change it to 200% of what it was. Oh, that's funny. I didn't see that it had been squished in the middle like that, but we're going to leave it alone. So we want 200, and I'm going to copy that and then paste it here, and that gives us 200%. So we're going to do that on each object. Okay, so that is the foliage control, and it should be completed, and that completes this tree. So if we go to our main line and our tree, and we go to position 1, what we can do is create a tree, and then going to change it around a little bit here. And then we can render our tree. Just waiting for the ding that says it's calculated all of it. There we go. And there's our tree. But say we need more trees, so we can just simply duplicate this. It takes a moment. I have an older computer, so bear with me. And so now we have another tree, and we can move it over, and we can distort it differently. We can make it a completely different tree. Although it's obviously still related to the first tree. And we can do that again, and again, and again. So now we've got 3 trees. If I can, my computer will catch up. So there we go, we've got a 3rd tree. We simply distort it differently, give it different colors. And there we go, we have 3 completely different trees. Now, to maintain those trees in our animation, so that they don't change accidentally by accidentally grabbing the control bones over here, we go to bone, and we hide the shy bones. And that turns off the bones that allows us to alter what this particular tree looks like. So we hide the shy bones, and now all we've got left is the tree and its manipulative bones, so that we can manage the puppet. So those 3 trees will maintain that look within this timeline, no matter what else I do to the trees. So say we move this one over, we get walking trees. The point is, they are all different. They're all of the same type of tree, but they don't look alike. So we go Control Render, and this is going to take time because I have an older computer. I didn't change 1 and 2 on the foliage, did I? So I changed the trunk but didn't change the foliage. But there's the 3rd one, and you can see how much different it is than the other 2. So let's go back and go to tree 2. There we are. And we're going to show its shy bones. So hide show shy bones. So now we're showing the shy bones for that tree. We can change the foliage. So it definitely looks now like a different tree. And let's do some more on tree 3 here. We'll go to bone and show the shy bone. Now I'm doing this in the timeline, so this will actually let you change the tree during the timeline. And there we go. So if we go to play it, you can can see the tree altering. But when we render them here, we now end up with 3 distinct individual trees. But they're the same kind of tree. So let's say these are cherry apples. So little tiny apples, little red apples. And remember, these are just for the background. But they don't look like the exact same thing over and over and over again. So there we go. And finally, we need to save our file. And also, we don't want to see the identity of each of these trees during our animation. So we would actually go in to each of them and turn off the character ID feature. Oops. And just like that, we get rid of those identity, but we can pull it up so that we can know, oh, we used this tree and we have to use it again. Yeah, we can make the trunk really thick or really thin. So, there we go. That is it. That is part 3 of making trees. It does work with the Chiaroscuro. It does plenty well blend in. And so that's it. So there's lots more coming. Stay tuned. You'll see some more. And maybe I can teach you something that you don't know. And if you can teach me something, comment below. Leave a message below. Say, you could do this way easier. And I would love to know that. Because like I said, I'm still learning all this. So now at this point, I'm going to clear the animation from the document. I'm going to go back to the construction layer. And then I'm going to delete the duplicates of the tree because theirs were just for demonstration purposes. And we end up with just tree 3 and the Chiaroscuro where that tree truly belongs on the scene of the Chiaroscuro. So there we go. Thank you for watching. Please come again next time. Hit the like, hit subscribe. Visit dangeraware.org. If you have kids, look at our games. Teach your kids to play our games. They'll learn personal rights. They'll learn how to call out bullies. They'll learn how to protect themselves when somebody is trying to manipulate them. Thank you. See you next time.
The one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger,